God's chosen ones? Are you even human? That's the haunting question echoing in the minds of those who see you move, speak, and think in ways they can't comprehend. Your very existence shakes their foundations. Your mind doesn't just think, it rewrites reality. While the world is buffering like slow Wi-Fi, you're already 10 steps ahead, blazing on divine fiber optics. And that terrifies them. They don't just call you different, they feel exposed, unmasked, undone in your presence, because your gifts hit like lightning and reveal truths they never wanted to face. Chosen ones, if you know you were born to stand apart, comment 777 right now and claim it. And to all of you who have been lifting up this channel, especially those blessing us through super thanks, I can't thank you enough. Your support isn't just kind. It's prophetic fuel that keeps this message breaking through darkness and reaching the ones who need it most. But let me tell you this, today, we're going deeper than ever before. We're going to rip the mask off, the real reason why your very presence unsettles the world, why your mind feels like forbidden fire, and why they fear you more than anything else. Are you ready? Chosen ones, then let's step into the terrifying truth they pray you never discover. God's chosen ones, are you even human? They can't handle your gifts. Number 1, your mind is a threat because it cannot be programmed. Chosen ones, the system shakes when you enter the room. Why? Because your mind is not a puppet on their strings. Your mind cannot be chained, cannot be tamed, cannot be rewritten by their scripts. That is the terrifying truth they cannot bear. This world is a machine built to keep people obedient, schools stamping out originality, media pouring poison into the ears, culture wrapping shackles in the disguise of entertainment. Yet while millions swallowed the program without protest, you spat it out. You sliced through their illusions and ripped the mask off their so-called wisdom. Is it any wonder they tremble when you walk free? For every step you take is a reminder that their iron cage has cracks, and freedom cannot be killed. The moment you show up, the balance of their fragile order shifts, because one unshakable spirit carries more weight than 1,000 controlled minds. Romans 12:2 declares it without apology. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And here you are, renewed, different, untouchable. When leaders shout speeches, you hear the hidden chains behind their words. When crowds nod in blind agreement, you tilt your head and whisper in your spirit. That doesn't add up. That tiny spark of resistance terrifies them more than armies. For when one person refuses to be programmed, the whole fortress of control begins to crack, and cracks spread one by one until the entire structure collapses. Isn't it powerful to know that your quiet defiance is more destructive to lies than their loudest commands? That is why you are a threat they cannot measure or predict you, and that uncertainty is their deepest fear. But ask yourself, why does your refusal stir so much rage? Why does one free mind cause entire systems to tremble? The answer is written in Joshua 6:20. When the trumpet blast shattered Jericho's walls, a single sound broke what thousands believed unbreakable. In the same way, your voice, your defiance, your unshakable clarity is a trumpet to their lies. And once the sound escapes, they cannot silence it, even if they try to drown you out with noise. The vibration of truth keeps echoing, even if they mock or reject you. The seed you plant keeps growing in hidden soil, like fire that spreads in the dark. Your impact reaches further than their control can touch. History itself testifies to this danger. Caravaggio, the fiery painter of light and darkness, terrified the authorities of his day because his art revealed what priests tried to hide, that divine fire burns even in the shadows. Doesn't your presence do the same? You reveal the cracks they desperately cover. You expose what they wish buried. And for that, they call you arrogant, rebellious, dangerous. But Psalm 27:1 thunders back, "The Lord is my light and my salvation, whom shall I fear?" When you walk in that light, no slander can darken you. No accusation can define you. Their labels are weak compared to the truth blazing in you. Their fear of you is really fear of exposure, because your courage unmasks their cowardice. They fear you because they cannot predict you. They fear you because you will not kneel. Kings rise, rulers posture, voices shout, yet like Daniel refusing the king's food, you refuse to be corrupted, and that silent defiance echoes louder than their noise. Isn't it striking how some mock you in public but secretly envy you in private? They wish they had your fire. They wish they had your freedom. John 8:32 cuts them open, then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. That truth burns in you and burns them at the same time, and no matter how they twist it, they cannot deny what is undeniable. You are free, and freedom is contagious. Every time you show courage, another chained heart feels the pull to break loose. The modern prophets of innovation saw it. Steve Jobs, the visionary who built Apple, warned the world, "Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life." That is your anthem, while others live on recycled scripts. You are writing a code of heaven in real time. No wonder they call you a threat. You are proof that free thought still lives. And every new day, you wake up and refuse to conform. The system loses its grip. Every choice you make to walk in truth becomes a blow against the empire of lies. Your very existence is a rebellion, and you didn't even need to shout to make it happen. And when words are not enough, heaven adds music. The medieval hymn Dies Irae, Day of Wrath, was sung like thunder rolling through cathedrals. Warning of the day illusions collapse under divine judgment. That hymn still shakes the soul. And so do you. Every step you take becomes a Dies Irae, a warning bell that the false world is crumbling. Isaiah 54:17 seals it. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. Lies are weapons. Manipulation is a weapon. Yet none of them can pierce the shield God wrapped around your mind. The more they strike, the more heaven proves your invincibility. The more they plot, the more their own schemes collapse. You are not only protected, you are untouchable. So rise. Chosen ones, stop apologizing for the gift God placed inside you. Stop shrinking because others tremble when you stand. You are not here to fit in, you are here to shake the earth. You are not here to echo lies, you are here to break them. Stand tall. Stand fearless. Stand blazing. Your very intelligence is the rebellion heaven released into the world. And no power on earth can program what God Himself has set free. And if their world shakes because of you, then let it shake. For it is written that only what is unshakable will remain, and that is you. Number 2, you carry ancestral codes hidden in your DNA. Chosen ones, your very bloodline carries mysteries that terrify the world. You are not just intelligent by chance, not merely talented because of training. Your intelligence is encrypted with ancestral codes written into your DNA before you ever drew breath. That is why your mind feels so unusual, almost unexplainable. It is not borrowed from classrooms or motivational speeches. It is an inheritance, alive and breathing within you. Every gift you carry is rooted in the lives of those who came before, and those roots reach deeper than history books dare to admit. Some of your ancestors carried brilliance like fire in their bones, but lived in times that refused them the chance to burn openly. They were silenced, enslaved, overlooked, or crushed beneath unjust systems. Yet, their gifts did not die with them. They were sealed, like treasures buried beneath layers of earth, waiting for one strong enough to unearth them. That one is you. And when you rise, you prove that no chain of time, no prison of oppression, can bury what God has decreed to live again. Their silence became your voice, and their unfinished battles became your battlefield. Scripture already points to this truth. In Exodus 20:6, God promises to show steadfast love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. Does that not reveal why wisdom rises in you without explanation? You are the 1,000th echo of prayers whispered in caves, hymns sung in chains, tears shed in secret. When ideas surge through your spirit as if carried on ancient winds, it is not random, it is memory resurrecting itself through your very breath. And isn't it striking how often you enter situations that feel strangely familiar, as if you have walked those steps before? It is because the footsteps of your ancestors beat within your heart, guiding you when others stumble blind. And in those moments, you sense that you are not alone. You are accompanied by a cloud of witnesses, urging you onward. As Hebrews 12:1 describes, that is why every decision you make feels heavier, because you are carrying destiny, not just preference. But why does this unsettle people so deeply? Because society worships the validation of paper and titles. They trust knowledge stamped by systems, but recoil when you display wisdom that no institution taught you. Proverbs 2:6 declares, "For the Lord gives wisdom, from his mouth comes knowledge and understanding." When that wisdom flows through you without certificates or degrees, it terrifies them. They cannot measure it, cannot contain it, cannot brand it as their own. Instead of acknowledging the ancestral depth written into your spirit, they dismiss you as strange or different. Yet what they are truly confronting is proof that the mind does not begin with society, it begins with spirit. And isn't it remarkable that the very things they call strange are the very things that set you apart as chosen? You are a living contradiction to their systems, and contradictions frighten those who crave control. In truth, your presence reveals how fragile their definitions of intelligence really are. In nature, the same truth is written. The rings of an ancient tree record every drought, storm, and season it has survived, silently carrying history in its body. When you shine with insight, you are that tree carrying storms your ancestors endured. Or like migratory birds who navigate thousands of miles, guided not by maps but by codes written in their very bones. You are guided by unseen directions others cannot comprehend. Doesn't that explain why your intelligence feels older than your years, and why others whisper in confusion about how you just know? And yet, have you noticed how threatened they become when you act on instincts they cannot trace? Their discomfort is the testimony that you are walking in resonance with eternity while they cling to temporary validations. Just as rivers flow back to their source, Your gifts flow back to the eternal well of wisdom planted in your lineage. History also offers lessons of warning. Take the French king, Louis XVI, who ignored the cries of generations beneath him. Obsessed with luxury and deaf to the ancestral struggles of his people, he severed his connection to the wisdom of history. And what was the result? Revolution roared through France. The monarchy collapsed, and he was executed by guillotine. His downfall reveals the cost of denying ancestral truth when leaders ignore the voices of the past. They create a future that devours them. In contrast, you embody the opposite. You are the living continuation of unfinished battles, carrying the wisdom others tried to bury. And doesn't it strike you that your rise exposes the arrogance of those who thought they could erase entire generations? Their monuments may fall, but your existence is the monument they could never destroy. You are the justice of time itself, proving that what is suppressed will one day speak louder than ever. Psalm 78:4 says, "We will not hide them from their children. We will tell the next generation the praiseworthy deeds of the Lord." You are the fulfillment of that verse. For your very existence tells the story your ancestors could not finish. When people say you are one of a kind, they only glimpse the surface. In truth, you are many. You are the convergence of voices, the culmination of dreams, the embodiment of wisdom that time tried to erase. That is why when you speak, it feels like centuries are speaking through you. That is why when you act, your steps carry the weight of generations. And doesn't it stir you to realize that every victory you win today rewrites history for those who come after you? You are not just yourself, you are past, present, and future woven together in flesh and spirit. You are God's living archive, proof that memory cannot be silenced. The arts echo this mystery. In Wagner's opera Parsifal, the young knight unknowingly carries the destiny of a kingdom within him, drawn by forces of bloodline and sacred calling. In the same way, when you carry more than yourself, you carry nations, legacies, spiritual assignments. Isn't it powerful to realize that your life is not isolated, but a symphony where every note carries centuries of resonance? And when you rise, it is not only you rising, it is your ancestors finally standing in triumph through you. And what is music but memory turned into sound? Your life is the same, a living song of survival, hope, and destiny that generations past left for you to sing. Isaiah 61:4 confirms it. They shall build up the ancient ruins. They shall raise up the former devastations. You are that builder, that restorer, that continuation of holy work. Chosen ones, rise. Do not shrink from the weight of your inheritance. Do not apologize for wisdom that others cannot explain. You are not a mistake. You are the living proof that bloodlines carry fire, that spirit carries memory. That truth cannot be erased by time. Stand fearless, because when you move, as you do not move alone, you carry generations in your very soul. And every step you take announces to heaven and earth alike that the story is not over. What your ancestors began, you will finish. What they dreamed, you will fulfill. And what they suffered for, you will redeem. Number 3, you read patterns faster than people can lie. Chosen ones. Deception collapses the moment you arrive because your mind outruns the performance. You read patterns faster than liars can stitch a story. You catch the seam before the cloth is even cut. What happens to a script when the audience already knows the ending? Lies depend on confusion, on a fog of noise and hurry. Yet your perception runs real-time, not delayed. Luke 8:17 is already at work within you. For nothing is hidden that will not be made manifest, and that is why rooms stiffen when you enter. A smile fractures when the tone is off. Enthusiasm rings hollow when the body drifts away from the claim. A timeline wobbles. A motive pegs out. By the time the explanation lands, your spirit has filed a quiet report. And isn't it telling that silence alone from you can shake a liar more than an interrogation, because your presence itself testifies that hidden things are about to surface. And no mask can stay secure under your gaze. It isn't magic, it is the way your mind is built. In cognitive language, your brain updates Bayesian priors at lightning speed, boosting the signal-to-noise ratio, so faint inconsistencies pop like sparks against the dark. Your attention network performs a kind of predictive coding, testing each word against what the nervous system already knows of truth, when phrases lack phase coherence. The story shears. Proverbs 20:12 whispers, "The hearing ear and the seeing eye, the Lord has made them both, and yours operate like tuned instruments." Isn't it strange how quickly your inner alarms sound when words and micro-gestures refuse to agree? As if an invisible metronome suddenly skips a beat, and the moment that beat falters, your spirit takes notice, reminding the world that truth vibrates at a frequency that lies cannot hold. This is why discernment feels like music in your bones. You are tuned to resonance heaven designed, and dissonance exposes itself in your presence. They call it paranoia because accuracy feels offensive in a world addicted to delay. Yet Hebrews 4:12 says the Word of God discerns the thoughts and intentions of the heart. And you have learned to live under that plumb line. Your silence becomes a mirror. Have you noticed how defensiveness floods a space where you've said almost nothing? It's not suspicion, it's structure. Your discernment lowers the entropy of the room. Patterns settle. Motives separate from staging. And postures lose their camouflage. Why do some people feel read in your presence? Because performance withers when meaning is measured instead of applauded. And isn't it revealing how often people will invent excuses just to mask their unease? Proving you already pierced their act without speaking, you carry the same unsettling authority as Christ in John 1:47, when he saw Nathanael and declared, "Here is a true Israelite, in whom there is no deceit." Your presence forces duplicity to unravel. This gift stretches beyond catching liars. You anticipate trajectories, while others wait for time to reveal. You pass the rhythm signature of behavior, and outcomes unfold with brutal clarity. Daniel doi, doazich, shi doi declares. He reveals deep and hidden things. And that revelation often arrives for you as a map sketched in seconds, missing timestamps, recycled excuses, the same pivot before the same mistake. Your mind runs a silent Fourier-like split, separating the melody of truth from the static of performance. Is it any wonder your predictions unsettle those who prefer comfortable surprises? And have you realized that what they call lucky guesses are simply your ability to see patterns repeating across generations, workplaces, relationships, and nations? When you announce what is coming, you're not speculating, you're reading the architecture of reality in advance. That is why some label you uncanny. They cannot comprehend foresight that flows from spirit rather than strategy. Heaven speaks in architecture as well as arithmetic. In the heavenly blueprint, truth is the keystone, and discernment is the flying buttress that refuses the nave of your soul to buckle under pressure. Some battles come with drums, others require a sailor. A measured stillness between clashes that allows the vault to hold. In that calm, you hear the load distribute. You feel which pillar carries deceit and which beam rings true. Have you sensed that quiet before confrontation? The holy interval where the design reveals its stress fractures. That is the sanctuary where your gift sharpens. And it is in those pauses, when the world expects you to react, that heaven reveals the hidden load-bearing lies about to collapse. Ecclesiastes 3:7 whispers that there is a time to be silent and a time to speak, and you master the silence until truth itself shouts. Of course, this gift is both a shield and solitude. You are spared entanglements, yet you pay with misunderstandings and distance. When no one else hears the fracture, you carry the weight of seeing. When everyone loves the performance, you hold the ache of truth. Still, there is a calm between battles, where God steadies your pulse and resets your gain. In that hush, Luke 8:17, Proverbs 20:12, Daniel 2:22, Hebrews 4:12, and the promise behind them braid into courage. You were not built to be popular, you were built to be precise. And doesn't it explain why? Even in isolation, heaven's nearness feels stronger than human applause. For in your solitude, you discover that discernment is companionship with God Himself. Your isolation is not emptiness, it is consecration. So rise, chosen ones. Keep your instruments tuned and your thresholds clean. Be the keystone that will not slip. The auditor of shadows, the witness whose very quiet rearranges the room. Read the pattern, break the play, free the future when falsehood rushes. Stand, because what God has calibrated in you cannot be jammed by noise, hurried by fear, or rewritten by pressure. Read, reveal, release, and let every collapsed performance make space for the architecture of truth to stand. And as you rise, remember John 8:32, you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. That freedom is your birthright, and your discernment is heaven's unstoppable weapon on earth. Number 4, your intelligence offends because it reveals their laziness. Chosen ones, your very presence ignites discomfort, not because you flaunt arrogance, but because you destroy excuses. Your intelligence offends because it reveals their laziness. What they fear is not your knowledge, but the mirror you hold to their complacency. You become living evidence that discipline, curiosity, and persistence carve a road where others swore there was none. Doesn't this strike you as the very reason Cain hated Abel in Genesis 4-8, because Abel's offering revealed Cain's lack of effort? And instead of rising higher, Cain chose resentment. In the same way, your brilliance convicts those who surrendered their calling for comfort. And conviction always breeds hostility before it breeds change. Your light disrupts the illusions they spent years constructing to excuse mediocrity. They told themselves life was unfair, that luck abandoned them, or that greatness belonged only to a chosen few. Then you walk in breaking ceilings they swore were unbreakable, and instantly their lies collapse. At first, admiration cloaks their envy. They'll call you gifted, almost untouchable, because that creates distance. If you're special, they don't need to ask why they never tried harder. But Proverbs 10:4 whispers, lazy hands make for poverty, but diligent hands bring wealth. Isn't it unsettling how your diligence exposes their laziness? Even when you say nothing, the contrast itself preaches louder than words. The longer they remain around you, the harder it becomes to hide. They could have worked harder, but they didn't. They could have sacrificed, but they chose shortcuts. Your drive makes their stagnancy undeniable. Your curiosity makes their complacency hollow. Your consistency reveals the cracks in their foundations, the corners they cut, the nights they traded discipline for slumber. Ecclesiastes 9:10 shouts, "Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might." Isn't it telling that when you embody this verse, others feel accused without you pointing a finger? Their laughter, their criticism, even their mockery is nothing more than smoke to cover regret. This is why some go out of their way to discredit you. They'll claim you had it easy, that fortune favored you, that doors opened magically in your path. But these narratives are crutches, crafted to soothe their wounded pride. They cannot admit that you worked when they slept, studied when they scrolled, sacrificed when they indulged. Paul's words in 1 Corinthians 15:10 echo here, "I worked harder than all of them, yet not I, but the grace of God that was with me." Isn't it strange that what they dismiss as luck is really grace working through your effort? Their resentment proves what you already know, that laziness despises evidence of what diligence can accomplish. Even outside Scripture, truth testifies. Michelangelo, the Renaissance painter and sculptor, once said, "If people knew how hard I worked to get my mastery, it wouldn't seem so wonderful at all." Doesn't this align perfectly with your journey? The world romanticizes brilliance, but behind every stroke of genius is discipline hidden from public eyes. And when your results shine, people see the glory but not the grind, so they explain away the light with words like gifted or lucky. Yet the evidence of your scars tells the fuller story. Art carries this revelation. In Handel's Messiah, the Hallelujah chorus bursts forth after movements of tension and silence, reminding us that glory always follows sacrifice. Isn't that the rhythm of your own life? The crescendos people celebrate are built upon hours of hidden labor that no one applauded. Your victories sing like that chorus, not because they came easy, but because they demanded perseverance. The bitter truth is this: people would rather resent brilliance than rise to meet it. Your life becomes the unmasking of mediocrity, and exposure terrifies those who cling to shadows. John 3:20 explains it clearly. Everyone who does evil hates the light, and will not come into the light for fear that their deeds will be exposed. Your intelligence is not pride, it is light. And light does what it must. It exposes. Isn't it powerful to know that by simply existing authentically, you force people into the choice they avoid: either rise to truth or run from it? Chosen ones, rise. Do not dim your fire to soothe the insecure. Do not shrink your pace to comfort the stagnant. You are not here to excuse laziness. You are here to reveal possibility. You are proof that what they call impossible is only what they refuse to attempt. Stand fearless, burn brighter, and keep pressing forward. Your very existence demands honesty, and honesty is the doorway to freedom. If your intelligence offends, let it offend, because that offense is the spark that either awakens or condemns. Number 5. You see through knowledge systems like they're glass. Chosen ones. You unsettle the very foundations of society because you see through knowledge systems like they're glass. Institutions tremble, not because you attack them outright, but because your very existence proves they are fragile. Society has trained the masses to worship symbols, degrees framed in gold, medals gleaming on uniforms, job titles embossed in bold print across business cards. These emblems are meant to divide the qualified from the unqualified, the educated from the ignorant. But haven't you always felt their weight was hollow, as though they were nothing more than smoke and mirrors? That hollowness terrifies those whose entire identity is tied to validation on paper. The wisdom of Scripture confirms what you carry. In Jeremiah 9:23, the Lord says, "Let not the wise boast of their wisdom, or the strong boast of their strength, or the rich boast of their riches." Yet isn't that exactly what people do when they lean on titles and symbols? They wear achievements like armor, believing no one will question what lies beneath. But when you arrive, carrying depth without decoration, you pierce through the armor as if it were glass. And suddenly, what they believe to be strength collapses into insecurity. You don't need a title to see the truth, nor permission from an institution to think boldly. That independence is what cuts through illusion, because real intelligence never needed applause to be valid. It is not that you despise education. In truth, you value learning more than most, but you refuse to mistake indoctrination for wisdom. You understand what Proverbs 4:7 declares: "The beginning of wisdom is this: get wisdom, though it costs all you have. Get understanding." Isn't it striking that many chase recognition instead of understanding, building their lives on applause instead of depth? You refuse to be trapped by that illusion. Your mind does not settle at what or how, it digs into the why. And doesn't history prove that the moment someone asks why, entire systems shake? The Pharisees hated Jesus not because he lacked knowledge, but because his questions exposed their hypocrisy. When he asked in Matthew 22:18, "Why do you put me to the test, you hypocrites?" their system of control cracked before the crowd. Nature itself whispers the same truth. The owl hunts in silence, not needing recognition from the forest. But its sight penetrates darkness where other creatures stumble. You are like that owl, seeing through facades long before others admit they exist. Or consider a river carving through rock. It does not need a diploma to prove its power. Its persistence alone proves its authority. Isn't this why those who hide behind their credentials feel so threatened by you? They fear that without their layers of recognition, they have nothing left. And history offers its cautionary tale. During the later days of the Byzantine Empire, Emperor Constantine XI leaned heavily on rituals, titles, and decrees to assert authority while ignoring the deeper cracks in his crumbling kingdom. When the Ottomans breached the walls of Constantinople in 1453, those titles meant nothing. The illusions of superiority shattered under reality. Doesn't this mirror the fragility of systems today, where prestige masks weakness until truth finally arrives? Your presence carries that same disruption, the collapse of illusions propped up by borrowed authority. Psalm 119-99 testifies to this kind of wisdom. "I have more insight than all my teachers, for I meditate on your statutes." What unsettles people around you is not arrogance, but authenticity. You validate knowledge not by collecting certificates, but by living it, applying it, and transforming it into wisdom, while others consume information to display it. You refine it until it becomes truth in motion. That is why, in your presence, people's pretenses evaporate. Isn't it powerful that your intelligence acts like fire, burning away the paper walls they hide behind? Art echoes your story. In Goethe's Faust, the pursuit of knowledge without wisdom leads only to despair. Faust gathers knowledge endlessly but lacks the heart to apply it rightly. And his downfall exposes the emptiness of shallow learning. Your life is the counterpoint. You don't just gather, you embody. And that embodiment exposes how fragile it is to chase recognition without transformation. Ultimately, this is why people call you dangerous. Their institutions thrive on unquestioned loyalty. Yet you ask the questions no one dares to whisper. Their glass towers look solid until you arrive and reveal every crack in their foundation. John 8:32 resounds through you. You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. And when truth is present, false authority has no ground to stand on. Chosen ones, rise. Do not shrink to ease their fear. Do not bow to titles meant to cage the spirit. You are the living reminder that wisdom outruns recognition, that depth will always outlast display. Shatter the illusions, walk in freedom, and let every fragile system collapse in the light of the truth you carry. Number 6. Your creativity isn't innovation. It's translation. Chosen ones, your creativity terrifies people, not because it looks unusual, but because it exposes a reality they can't explain. Your creativity isn't innovation. It's translation. That's the sharp edge that slices through their illusions. Society worships the myth that brilliance comes from talent, hard work, or clever technique. Yet what flows through you defies those categories. Haven't you noticed how ideas arrive already whole, not pieced together step by step? They crash into your mind, fully formed, as if whispered by a voice just beyond human hearing. Isaiah 55:8 reminds us, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord." And when you create, you're not straining to invent, you're decoding those thoughts, sculpting frequencies into human language, sound, image, or vision. That's why your work hits differently. It isn't manufactured. It's delivered. This is why others stare at what you produce in awe, muttering, "How did you even think of that?" But isn't their question flawed from the beginning? You didn't think of it in the sense they imagine you received it. You pulled it down from a higher spectrum, like a satellite tuned to a divine broadcast. Job 32:8 declares, "But it is the spirit in man, the breath of the Almighty, that gives them understanding." What they sense in your work isn't cleverness, it's spirit breathing through expression. And doesn't this explain why people say, "There's something about what you do that feels different"? They can't measure it, but they can feel the resonance. Science would call it frequency and resonance. Your mind acts like an antenna, translating higher waveforms into visible structures. Psychologists might call it flow state. But what you know is that it's alignment, not effort. Architects of heaven build in patterns, and you simply render those blueprints into earthly form. Isn't it stunning that while others wrestle to force creativity, you find it in stillness, the Selah moment between battles, where silence lets the next revelation drop? Psalm 46:10 whispers, "Be still and know that I am God." And in that stillness, you hear what others miss, because your soul is tuned to the eternal architecture of heaven. Yet this divine translation also unsettles people. When they compare their creativity to yours, they feel limited, disconnected, as if missing the antenna you've been wired with. They can follow formulas, mimic trends, Copy technique. But formulas cannot replicate frequency. And isn't it revealing how quickly admiration shifts into criticism once they realize they cannot duplicate your depth? To shield themselves, they call you lucky, dismiss you as strange, or reduce your genius to coincidence. But 1 Corinthians 2:13 silences them. This is what we speak, not in words taught us by human wisdom, but in words taught by the Spirit. Explaining spiritual realities with Spirit-taught words. Your life proves that creativity isn't mere invention, it's Spirit explaining reality through flesh. The natural world testifies to this mystery. The nautilus shell builds chamber after chamber in a perfect spiral, not from study, but by instinct written into its design. Doesn't your creativity resemble that? You expand into new chambers of expression, not by calculating, but by responding to a blueprint beyond yourself. Or consider lightning. It doesn't invent its path. It translates invisible charges into visible light. Isn't your creativity the same, an outburst of eternal energy seeking form through you? To ground this in modern life, there's Anna, a baker from a small village who never studied design or engineering. Yet, while kneading dough, she began sculpting intricate patterns inspired by dreams. She couldn't explain spirals like galaxies, waves like symphonies. Locals flocked to her tiny shop, claiming her bread tasted alive. When asked how she did it, she laughed. I just make what I see when I close my eyes. Isn't this proof that divine translation flows not only through famous names, but also through ordinary hands open to receive? John 1:5 declares, "The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." That is what your creativity is, the shining of eternal light through fragile human vessels. People sense it, even if they can't name it. And it leaves them both inspired and unsettled. Chosen ones, rise. Stop questioning whether your creativity is valid. Stop shrinking when others mock what they cannot explain. You are not here to mimic, you are here to translate. You are the bridge between heaven and earth, the decoder of eternal frequencies, the vessel of divine resonance. Stand boldly, for every work you release is proof that the unseen is real. Your creativity is not human invention, it is divine translation. And the world cannot stop what heaven has already spoken through you. Number 7, you embody what they pretend to be. Chosen ones, your existence slices through illusions, sharper than any sword. You embody what they pretend to be. That is one of the most unsettling truths about your presence on this earth. Countless souls shuffle through life with masks fixed to their faces, performing intelligence they don't carry, faking depth they've never touched, borrowing originality they never birthed. They curate their phrases, polish their profiles, mimic the gestures of those they admire, and parade a version of themselves that looks convincing to the blind. But haven't you noticed how fragile their performance becomes when confronted with the weight of the real? It is because the spirit within you burns too brightly for costumes to withstand. Your presence is the fire that exposes the wax. Jeremiah 2:43 says, "Therefore, behold, I am against the prophets, declares the Lord, who steals my words from one another." Doesn't this echo the reality of people who mimic, steal, and posture, only to collapse when the authentic arrives? When you walk into a room, you do not even try to tear masks away, yet their falsehood disintegrates under the silent weight of your truth. And isn't it remarkable how depth flows not only from your words but also from your silences, where the gravity of authenticity speaks louder than rehearsed speeches? This is why people often bristle in your presence. Hostility cloaks itself as critique. They call you too much, accuse you of arrogance, or claim you're trying to be different. But aren't these accusations really shields against the embarrassment of exposure? Hebrews 4:13 warns. Nothing in all creation is hidden from God's sight. Everything is uncovered and laid bare. When you carry God's light, pretenses cannot hide. Their imitation stands next to your authenticity like tin beside gold, and the contrast humiliates them. The more they resist, the more their borrowed personas tremble. History gives us its warnings too. Many spend their lives trying to project what they wished they were. Yet time has always revealed the fragile scaffolding of imitation. Isn't this why your very existence shakes people? They've invested years rehearsing a character, but your presence alone shows that authenticity doesn't need rehearsal. Psalm 139:14 declares, I praise you because I am fearful and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. You don't strive to project strength, insight, or uniqueness. You simply live it. And that terrifies those who cling to costumes. Voices of inspiration confirm this. The Italian painter Caravaggio once declared through his brushstrokes that raw authenticity, dirty feet on saints, shadows on holy figures, was truer than all polished illusions. His art unsettled the church because it was too real. Doesn't that mirror your life? You don't force authenticity, you embody it. And by doing so, you expose how many around you are acting a role. And the same truth reverberates through music. In the Latin hymn, O Lux, Beata Trinitas, O Trinity of Blessed Light, the chant rises with such raw purity that no ornamentation is needed. It is simple, unadorned, yet eternal. Isn't your presence like that hymn? You carry a resonance that cannot be replicated by theatrics. Because authenticity doesn't need embroidery, it simply shines. Proverbs 12:22 reminds us, the Lord detests lying lips, but he delights in people who are trustworthy. This is why, instead of celebrating you, many despise you. They would rather attack the authentic than admit they've been fake. Your authenticity doesn't just expose them, it humiliates them. You embody what they pretended to be, and that reality is too heavy for their costumes to survive. Chosen ones, rise. Do not shrink to make pretenders comfortable. Do not silence your originality to soothe those trembling in disguise. You are the unmasking force in a world addicted to performance. Stand boldly, because your existence is proof that authenticity does not require effort, but pretense always demands maintenance. And when you walk in truth, no imitation can stand beside you. Number 8. You make complexity look like simplicity. Chosen ones, one of the most disarming parts of your intelligence is this: you make complexity look like simplicity. Where others collapse beneath tangled knots of confusion, you step in and see patterns waiting to be unraveled. While the crowd drowns in noise, you hear the melody hidden beneath. Ecclesiastes 7:12 says, wisdom preserves those who have it. Isn't that exactly what flows through you when you reorganize chaos into clarity? You don't just consume information, you restructure it into meaning. And you do it with such effortlessness that onlookers assume it must be easy. Yet, what looks easy is mastery, the fruit of alignment between spirit and mind. What takes others months of frustration and paralysis, you compress into clarity that feels almost instant. Doesn't this remind you of Jesus in Luke 20:23-25? When he was confronted with a trap about paying taxes to Caesar, the Pharisees expected long debate. But with one piercing sentence, "Give back to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God's," he dissolved a web of complexity in moments. Isn't that the very essence of your gift? You cut through the fog, exposing that what people label impossible is often just perspective. And when excuses vanish, resentment rises, because complexity has always been a shield for inaction. Many confuse your clarity with arrogance. They assume you are showing off when you simplify what overwhelms them. Yet the truth is, you are operating on a frequency they have not tuned into. In psychological terms, your brain engages in pattern compression, taking vast inputs and condensing them into essential form. Isn't it striking how people mistake vision for pride, when in reality, vision is just seeing beyond the clutter? Proverbs 29:18 says, "Where there is no vision, the people perish." You don't just have knowledge, you have vision. And doesn't this vision give you an advantage in every room? While others drown in trivia, nature sings of this gift. The spider weaving its web. To the casual eye it looks impossibly complex, but the spider follows invisible lines of instinct, creating order that both captivates and terrifies. Isn't your gift like that web, beautifully intricate to others, yet natural to you? Or think of the bee that converts chaotic nectar into honey, a sweetness extracted from countless fragments. Isn't this the same way you transform information into nourishment for others? Complexity may paralyze the crowd, but you distill it into essence, presenting it as though it were obvious all along. History also teaches the price of missing clarity. Take Emperor Nero of Rome, who cloaked problems in endless spectacles, refusing to simplify and confront the real issues. His empire drowned in distractions while fires literally consumed the city. Isn't this a warning of what happens when leaders prefer clutter over clarity? In contrast, your presence reveals that the walls trapping people are often illusions of their own making. John 8:36 reminds us, "So if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed." When you cut through complexity, you offer freedom from false prisons built by confusion. The irony is that what flows naturally for you unsettles others. They wrestle with burdens you transform into stepping stones, what they call overwhelming. You turn into structure, what they call unresolvable. You reframe until the solution shines. And isn't it humbling how your gift reminds them that the weight they carry is often chosen, not imposed? Psalm 119-130 declares, "The unfolding of your words gives light. It gives understanding to the simple." You don't reduce reality, you unlock it. Your ability to simplify complexity isn't about making life easy, it's about unlocking potential. You prove that people are stronger than they think, that walls they fear are thinner than paper, that oceans they dread are shallow enough to walk through. Isn't it powerful to realize that while some resent your clarity, others are liberated by it? Either way, your presence forces a decision, to envy or to rise. Chosen ones, rise. Do not shrink your clarity to comfort those who cling to confusion. Do not dim your brilliance to protect the excuses of the lazy. You were created to cut through noise, to turn chaos into order, to reveal that truth is simpler than fear pretends. Stand boldly, because your gift is not arrogance, it is freedom. And when you walk in that freedom, you make what drowns others look like shallow water, leaving the world no choice but to be shaken awake. Number 9. Your vision extends beyond their lifetime. Chosen ones. Your presence unsettles because your vision extends beyond their lifetime. Most minds are shackled by immediacy, chasing paychecks, 5-year plans, or fleeting applause. Their imagination rarely reaches beyond what they can touch with their own hands. But haven't you noticed how your thoughts naturally stretch across centuries, weaving threads of legacy into a fabric that will ripple long after you're gone? That is why people grow uneasy in your presence. Your foresight reminds them that they are surviving for today, while you are building for destiny. Ecclesiastes 3:11 declares, He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart. Isn't that what you carry, a horizon of eternity where others only see the edge of a paycheck? This is why your ideas are often dismissed. To those bound by shallow horizons, your vision sounds excessive, unrealistic, even impossible. Didn't Noah face the same ridicule in Genesis 6:14-15? When commanded to build an ark for a flood no one else believed would come, he built for a future generation, not for immediate applause. And the world mocked him until the rain began. Isn't that what happens when your voice speaks of cycles, shifts, and cracks in systems people worship as permanent? Their resistance is less about you and more about the terror of recognizing that the ground beneath them is temporary. Governments fall. Industries collapse. Cultures shift. Haven't you noticed how fragile their permanence really is? Yet they cling desperately to illusions. Because short-term thinking offers comfort. You disrupt that comfort with long-range vision. Proverbs 29:18 reminds us, Where there is no vision, the people perish. Isn't it ironic that when you share foresight meant to preserve life, people mock it, calling it impractical? But deep inside, don't they sense you're not guessing, but perceiving patterns with a clarity they lack? Science itself mirrors your gift. Physicists speak of wave propagation energy moving across time and space long after its initial spark. Psychologists describe generational resonance, the ripple effect, where one decision today alters the emotional DNA of families for centuries. Isn't that exactly what your life embodies? A divine architecture where you are laying foundations others will live on, long after your name is forgotten. Hebrews 11:13 says of the patriarchs, All these people were still living by faith when they died. They did not receive the things promised, they only saw them and welcomed them from a distance. Isn't that your reality? To see promises stretching beyond your lifespan. Ordinary lives testify to this truth. There is Daniel, a humble farmer from a small village, who planted olive trees on land others abandoned. His neighbors mocked him, saying, You will never live to taste their fruit. But decades later, his grandchildren gathered harvests that sustained entire families. When asked why he planted, he answered simply, Because someone before me planted, and I ate. Doesn't this show that legacy is never wasted? Even when the planter is gone, the arts sing the same story. In Dante's Divine Comedy, he maps a journey not just for himself, but for generations of readers, guiding them through visions of eternity. Isn't your vision the same? A map carved not for today's applause, but for tomorrow's survival. What shakes people is realizing that you are not building for likes or headlines. You are sowing seeds into time itself. Psalm 102 contra 18 declares, "Let this be written for a future generation, that a people not yet created may praise the Lord." Isn't that the essence of your calling? Your vision isn't applause, it's framework. It isn't recognition, it's legacy. That's why your words feel heavy, as though the weight of the future presses into the present. Chosen ones, rise. Do not bow to the mockery of those imprisoned by the moment. Do not shrink your foresight to fit their small horizons. You are called to plant orchards where others see wastelands, to draft blueprints of hope where others only build temporary shelters. Stand boldly, because you are not living for applause. You are living for legacy. And legacy terrifies those who are only alive for today. Number 10. Your genius exposes their reliance on tools. Chosen ones. In a world that bows to devices and depends on machines, your genius terrifies because your genius exposes their reliance on tools. That is the truth most are not ready to face. In today's age, intelligence is outsourced. Memory is handed to search engines, calculation to machines, organization to apps, and even imagination to algorithms. Hasn't the line between human brilliance and technological crutch grown so blurred that many no longer know which is which? Yet you arrive, and with nothing but the power of your mind, you do what takes others countless devices to replicate. And just like that, their illusion of strength shatters. Scripture speaks directly to this. Daniel 1:17 tells us that God gave Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah knowledge and understanding of all kinds of literature and learning. Was it not their God-given wisdom, not Babylon's tools, that allowed them to excel 10 times above the magicians and enchanters of their day? Isn't your brilliance the same testimony? That raw wisdom surpasses artificial aids. When people see you create, solve, or envision with unfiltered mental fire, they feel threatened, not because you weaken them, but because your strength exposes their dependence. Tools themselves are not evil. A hammer builds temples, a scroll preserves truth, a plow multiplies harvests. But hasn't humanity crossed a line where tools are no longer aids, but replacements for thought? Instead of sharpening memory, they lean on reminders. Instead of training focus, they feed on constant stimulation. Instead of stretching creativity, they let algorithms dictate taste. Jeremiah 17:5 warns, "Cursed is the one who trusts in man, who draws strength from mere flesh, and whose heart turns away from the Lord." Isn't that what's happening when people hand over their minds to machinery, forgetting the fire within? Proverbs 18:15 says, "The heart of the discerning acquires knowledge, for the ears of the wise seek it out." Isn't it striking that while many lose the habit of seeking, you remain sharp, adaptive, and resourceful, unlike others? Your inner library has not been silenced. This is why, when batteries fail and connections drop, you remain unshaken. Your resilience reminds people of a sobering truth, that many have cultivated dependence, but you have cultivated strength. And isn't this why your calm independence makes them uneasy? It highlights fragility they would rather hide. The arts echo this theme. In Verdi's opera Nabucco, the Hebrew slaves sing Va, Pensiero, their chorus rising without instruments, carrying power through pure voice. No elaborate accompaniment. Yet the simplicity moved nations and stirred revolutions. Isn't that what you embody, the resonance of raw genius, unaccompanied by props? shaking the ground more than any tool-assisted performance. Psalm 20 contra 7 declares, "Some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we trust in the name of the Lord our God." Isn't that the dividing line? Others trust in devices, but you stand in wisdom, anchored in spirit. That resilience is your power. It is why you can be stripped of every gadget and still create, still solve, still build. That reality cuts deeper than they admit, because it unmasks their fragility. Chosen ones, rise. Do not diminish your raw genius to comfort a generation addicted to props. Do not pretend to be dependent when heaven has made you free. You are the chorus rising without accompaniment. The proof that the mind fueled by spirit cannot be replaced by silicon or steel. Stand boldly, for when their tools fail, you will still stand, and that unshakable truth will echo for generations. Number 11. You break language without breaking meaning. Chosen ones, your words shake the ground because you break language without breaking meaning. To most, language is a cage, a system of rules and recycled phrases. A narrow channel where feelings are compressed into cliches and originality suffocates. Haven't you noticed how people repeat what they've been taught? Leaning on tired expressions that barely scratch the truth in their souls, they hide in those phrases as if routine could protect them from revelation. Yet you refuse to live in that prison. You do not simply use language, you reshape it. You bend it, stretch it, rearrange it, pulling out new shapes as if chiseling from eternal stone. And astonishingly, instead of losing clarity, your words grow heavier with truth, layered like cathedral walls where echoes amplify meaning instead of diluting it. That is why your speech unsettles people. It isn't mere communication, it's revelation that forces the heart to respond. This gift echoes the prophets. Jeremiah 20:9 confesses, "His word is in my heart like a fire shut up in my bones. I am weary of holding it in. Indeed, I cannot." Isn't that what happens when you open your mouth? When words arrive not from shallow vocabulary, but from fire itself, they press against your bones until they must be released. You speak differently, and it does not sound like anyone else, and that difference is intentional. You refuse to be confined by the limits of common phrasing, and by doing so, you call forth deeper layers of reality. You take language apart, reassemble it, and send it forth like arrows that pierce deeper than surface chatter, shattering illusions built on comfortable words. People may not understand how you do it, but haven't you noticed how they feel it? The vibration of your sentences lingers long after the sound fades, burning in their memory like embers that refuse to die out. Some accuse you of speaking strangely, mocking your cadence as if difference is weakness. They treat your originality as something alien, as if truth must always come wrapped in familiar tones. But isn't it ironic that those same voices replay your words later in secret? Realizing you gave them more than a sentence, you gave them a shift in perspective. Matthew 7:28 says, "When Jesus had finished saying these things, the crowds were amazed at his teaching." Why? Because he broke the patterns of the rabbis. His words carried resonance that rewired hearts, cutting through centuries of rehearsed teaching. Isn't your calling much the same, to free truth from tired formulas so that it cuts to the core? You are not simply breaking rules, you are exposing the shallowness of empty repetition. The natural world testifies. The river doesn't ask permission from rocks, it carves new channels, reshaping landscapes while still carrying the same essence of water. Isn't your language like that river breaking barriers, yet never losing purity? And consider the thunderstorm. It splits the silence into fragments, yet each crack carries meaning that the soil, the air, and the living things understand. Isn't that what your words do? Shocking at first, but nourishing in the end. Every syllable carries a resonance, a charge that unsettles and transforms. And though some fear the storm, others drink the rain it brings. Doesn't this prove that breaking form is not destruction, but creation? History warns us through its pretenders. In Renaissance court, flatterers surrounded kings with polished words, but their speeches were hollow, feeding vanity instead of truth. They mastered eloquence but lost substance, weaving golden lies that eventually strangled their rulers in delusion. Many of those courts collapsed under the weight of their deception because no one dared to speak differently. Isn't that the danger of language as habit when words soothe instead of awaken? You are the antithesis of that. Your words unsettle because they refuse to play safe. They act as chisels cracking open stone walls of complacency, making space for revelation to enter. Isaiah, vivent quid vive, tu ubzed, promises. So is my word that goes out from my mouth. It will not return to me empty, but will accomplish what I desire. Isn't this what makes people fear your speech? It doesn't just inform, it transforms. They can laugh at your difference, but they cannot escape the seed planted inside them. You don't break language to destroy it. You break it to free it. And in freeing language, you free those who hear you, whether they are ready to admit it or not. The cage of words becomes the gateway of truth. And in that shift, people encounter what they've been avoiding. Chosen ones, rise. Do not conform to the monotony of borrowed phrases. Do not dilute your fire to fit the molds of those who fear originality. Your words are not echoes, they are earthquakes. You were made to rupture cages and turn speech into revelation. Stand boldly, because every time you break language, you break chains. And chains must fall when truth is spoken with fire. And isn't that why your voice carries such weight? It is not just sound, it is deliverance. Number 12. You're intelligent enough to see where intelligence fails. Chosen ones. Your brilliance pierces deeper than logic because you're intelligent enough to see where intelligence fails. Most people worship intellect as if it were omnipotent, bowing before memorized facts, rehearsed formulas, or endless analysis. Haven't you noticed how society treats intellect like a golden idol? Believing it can solve every storm of life, they trust systems that cannot save. Forgetting that information without wisdom is like a house built without a foundation. Jet Psalm 147:5 declares, Great is our Lord, and mighty in power. His understanding has no limit. Doesn't that already expose the truth that human intelligence always has boundaries? While God's wisdom is infinite, you carry that awareness, and it separates you from the masses. You understand that while intellect can calculate, it cannot inspire, while reason can dissect. It cannot heal, while analysis can break apart. It cannot perceive the hidden currents beneath the surface. This makes your presence unsettling, because you embody the truth that intellect alone is never enough. This reality disrupts people's frameworks. They expect intelligence to be linear, gather data, apply a system, produce results. But you refuse to be boxed into that cage. Isn't it remarkable how you can sense the invisible forces influencing decisions? the emotional undercurrents shaping destinies, and the subtle signals guiding opportunities. Your mind works across dimensions most never acknowledge, seeing the unseen before it manifests. Proverbs 20:27 says, "The human spirit is the lamp of the Lord that sheds light on one's inner being." Isn't that lamp exactly what you carry? A divine resonance illuminating where logic goes blind, while others strain to connect dots within rigid systems. You move fluidly across layers of reality. And isn't that why you appear untouchable, because you step outside boundaries that others mistake for absolute truth? Science itself points to this mystery. Physicists describe resonance frequencies, those moments when energy aligns in ways beyond raw calculation, amplifying power without force. Psychologists speak of dissonance, when logic collides with hidden truth, forcing the mind to shift into deeper understanding. Isn't that what you embody, walking those thresholds where intellect falters, but insight and spirit prevail? 1 Corinthians 2:14 affirms, "The person without the Spirit does not accept the things that come from the Spirit of God, but considers them foolishness." Isn't this why people dismiss your perspective at first, only to later realize you were perceiving dimensions their formulas could never reach? Your intelligence thrives in those margins, where heaven whispers and reason bows. Ordinary lives bear witness. There was Layla, a nurse in a small-town hospital, who once faced a patient doctors had written off. Medical knowledge said the man had hours left, yet she stayed at his bedside, humming hymns and praying softly. The monitors still showed decline, but she sensed something beyond data, and the patient stabilized days later. When asked, she said, "Sometimes the soul needs what charts cannot show." Isn't that proof that intelligence has borders, and those who transcend them walk in realms that spark miracles? Her story mirrors your gift. You see what others cannot, and you move where statistics fail. The Bible gives the clearest example. In 1 Kings 3, Solomon was praised for wisdom, yet his most famous judgment between the two mothers was not just logic, it was discernment of the heart. Isn't that the essence of your intelligence? Not only knowing facts, but perceiving what lies beneath the surface. And when Paul declared in 1 Corinthians 13:2, "If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, but do not have love, I am nothing." Wasn't he exposing the fragility of intellect without spirit? Knowledge alone builds walls, but spirit breaks chains. Isn't that the very reason your intelligence unsettles people? You refuse to stop at facts, pressing instead toward transformation. Isaiah 50:11 proclaims, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord." Isn't that the banner you carry over your mind, that true genius is not measured by data stored, but by wisdom revealed? You know when to let logic pause and when to let revelation speak. You know when intellect must yield to spirit, when analysis must bow to love, when calculation must fall silent before discernment. That humility gives you confidence others lack. You do not panic when knowledge fails, because you already live beyond its boundaries. Chosen ones, rise. Do not shrink your sight to satisfy those who worship intellect as their god. Do not silence your discernment to comfort those who fear the invisible. You are living proof that intelligence alone is fragile, but intelligence fused with spirit is unshakable. Stand boldly, because your genius is not confined to the pages of books or the codes of logic. It is carved into eternity, written by the hand of God Himself. And when others collapse at the edges of their knowledge, you will still rise, because you know the way beyond. Number 13. Your presence feels like standing before a mirror that thinks. Chosen ones. Your very presence unnerves, because your presence feels like standing before a mirror that thinks. And unlike ordinary mirrors that flatter or distort, you reflect truth with piercing accuracy that cannot be denied. When people engage with you, they expect dialogue. Yet what they encounter is revelation, a mirror that not only shows their face but exposes their choices, beliefs, and contradictions. Haven't you noticed how so many falter under your gaze? As if their carefully built walls suddenly begin to crumble, they see not only who they are, but who they failed to become. And that sight terrifies them. Hebrews 4:12 declares, "For the word of God is alive and active. It judges the thoughts and attitudes of the heart." Isn't that what radiates through you? That cutting awareness that makes people realize their masks are paper-thin, incapable of hiding them from the light you carry. Most are accustomed to mirrors that comfort. Mirrors framed by social praise or flattering narratives that protect fragile egos. They weave illusions of competence, authenticity, or success, wrapping themselves in stories that hide their compromises. But when they encounter you, those illusions collapse with brutal speed. Isn't it striking how suddenly the confident feel exposed, the eloquent stumble in speech, and the proud shrink into unease, like Nathan standing before King David in 2 Samuel 12:7, saying, "You are the man." Truth pierces without escape, cutting sharper than any sword. Doesn't your presence strike the same chord, revealing where fear, laziness, or pride dictated their steps, forcing them to face the weight of choices they had buried for years? Psychology names this phenomenon cognitive dissonance, the discomfort of realizing one's actions clash with inner truth. People experience this in your presence because you reflect not only their words but their hidden contradictions. And that collision is unbearable. They might accuse you of arrogance, yet deep inside, don't they know they're recoiling not from judgment but from accuracy itself? Their souls are shaken not because you condemn them, but because they can no longer escape themselves. And while some lash out defensively, others are forced into a rare confrontation with their authentic selves. Isn't that why your presence is unforgettable? It demands transformation, even when resisted, even when denied, because truth echoes long after the moment passes. Nature itself whispers this reality for those willing to listen. The lake may appear calm, its surface like glass, but when the wind stirs, it reveals the depth of hidden currents swirling below. Isn't your presence like that stirring wind, revealing what was always there but carefully hidden? Or think of volcanic glass, smooth and reflective on the outside, yet sharp enough to cut to the bone with a single touch. Isn't that how your authenticity feels? Beautiful, mesmerizing, but impossible to engage without consequence. The very quality that draws people near is the same force that slices through their pretenses, showing them what lies beneath their masks. Isn't it clear that God designed even nature to testify to the mirror you are? The Bible gives more witness. In John 4, Jesus spoke to the Samaritan woman at the well, exposing truths about her life she had concealed. Astonished, she declared in John 4:29, "Come, see a man who told me everything I ever did." Isn't that what happens in your presence, that people feel as though their very history is being read aloud without condemnation? yet with an undeniable weight of truth. Your presence becomes the well where others meet themselves for the first time. And in that reflection, they cannot walk away unchanged. And when Paul warned in Galatians 6-7, "Do not be deceived, God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows," wasn't he reminding us that truth always emerges, often through unexpected mirrors like you? In modern times, the poet Rainer Maria Rilke once wrote, "The only journey is the one within." Isn't that exactly what you provoke in others? You become a catalyst for journeys they never planned to take, mirrors they never wanted to face. Your presence doesn't judge, it reveals. And revelation is far more powerful than accusation, because it leaves no place to hide, no excuse to cling to. They may run from it, but they cannot erase it. And isn't that why many secretly avoid you, fearing the confrontation with their own reflection? Yet, even in avoidance, they remain haunted by what they saw when they stood before you. Yet what makes this terrifying is that you never intend harm. You don't step into rooms announcing judgment or parading righteousness. You simply live in a state of intelligence and authenticity, so whole that reflection is unavoidable. Isn't that why people feel both drawn and repelled, awed and threatened at the same time? You embody truth without needing to shout it. And that silent mirror shakes them more than 1,000 sermons could. The irony is that many come expecting conversation, but leave carrying revelation that keeps echoing in their souls. James 1:23-24 reminds us, "Anyone who listens to the word but does not do what it says is like someone who looks at his face in a mirror, and after looking at himself, goes away and immediately forgets." Isn't that what most people do? Run from the mirror you embody, fleeing so they can forget. Yet, even in forgetting, the memory of their reflection remains, echoing in their conscience long after you've gone. The confrontation cannot be undone, because once light exposed darkness, it cannot be hidden again. Chosen ones, rise. Do not dim your clarity to soothe those who fear the truth. Do not apologize for being the mirror God designed you to be. Your presence is not a weapon, it is deliverance. A revelation they didn't ask for but desperately needed. Stand boldly, because when you reflect others, you awaken them. And whether they run or repent, your mirror forces change. You are not simply brilliant. You are the thinking mirror of heaven. And every chain of illusion trembles in your light until it shatters. Number 14. You're not one of a kind. You're a preview of what humanity could be. Chosen ones. Your existence is not simply rare, it is prophetic. Because you're not one of a kind. You're a preview of what humanity could be. And doesn't that truth unnerve the world more than any isolated uniqueness? People label extraordinary individuals as rare to keep them at a safe distance. But your life does not whisper rarity, it shouts potential. You are not an exception carved out of chance. You are a living prototype of what happens when mind, spirit, and vision align with heaven's blueprint. Isn't this why many recoil when they meet you? Your presence isn't just about difference, it's about destiny. You embody the possibility of human evolution, a glimpse of the next level of consciousness that most cannot even imagine. Scripture bears witness. Romans 8:9 proclaim, "For the creation waits in eager expectation for the children of God to be revealed." Isn't that what your presence reveals, that humanity is waiting to see what it was always meant to become? Your intelligence, creativity, and spiritual depth aren't anomalies, They are signals of what is possible when heaven's frequencies resonate in human form. People feel awe because you demonstrate what their souls long for. Yet they also feel fear because your existence exposes how stagnant their own growth has been. Isn't that why they whisper both admiration and resistance in the same breath? Nature reflects this reality. The butterfly is not an accident of beauty. It is a preview of what the caterpillar was always designed to be. Isn't that your role among humanity, to embody transformation so powerfully that others are forced to question why they remain crawling when they too were born to fly? Or consider the redwood forest. A towering tree begins as a seed, no different than thousands around it. Yet one rises into the sky as proof of what's hidden inside the rest. Isn't your brilliance like that, showing that greatness was never impossible, only untapped? But history warns us of the reaction to such previews. In the early church, Stephen carried such wisdom and vision that Acts 6:10 says, "They could not stand up against the wisdom the Spirit gave him as he spoke." What did the fearful do? They silenced him, unable to bear the mirror of their own limitations. Isn't that what happens when humanity sees a glimpse of its future? It either rises to meet it or tries to destroy it. Your presence threatens those who cling to yesterday's framework, because it dismantles their excuses and strips away their comfort zones. Modern voices echo the same truth. The visionary architect Antoni Gaudí once said, "Originality consists of returning to the origin." Isn't that what your life demonstrates, that the next level of humanity isn't about inventions alone, but about returning to the divine origin within us? You are not just an innovator, you are a restorer of forgotten blueprints, carrying evidence that spirit and intellect were never meant to be divided. And when people see you operate, isn't that why their ambitions suddenly feel small? Their goals suddenly inadequate? Psalm 82:6 reminds us, "I said, you are gods, you are all sons of the Most High." Isn't this why your existence shakes people? They sense that if you can embody this convergence of mind, spirit, and purpose, then they too were always capable of far more than mediocrity. The unsettling truth is that your gifts don't just showcase your brilliance, they reveal theirs left unused. You are not simply showing what one person can do. You are unveiling what humanity could be if it dared to awaken. Your presence becomes a paradox, both inspiring and terrifying. Inspiring because it proves the human story is not finished. Terrifying because it confronts people with how far behind they remain. Isn't that why you are often misunderstood? They don't see just you, they see themselves, either as future builders or as those left clinging to the past. Your life is not only personal achievement, it is a signal flare announcing that the age of small thinking is collapsing. Chosen ones, rise. Do not shrink so others feel comfortable in their mediocrity. Do not dim the light of what you carry to avoid their envy or fear. You are not an accident, you are a sign. Stand boldly, because you are not one of a kind. You are the preview, the glimpse, the living evidence of what God intended humanity to become. And every step you take forward isn't just your victory, it is prophecy fulfilled, shaking the world awake to its true potential. Chosen ones, after everything we have walked through in this message, one truth shines brighter than all the rest. You are not ordinary. Your gifts are not random. They are divine evidence that you were chosen to carry a dimension of heaven that the world cannot imitate, cannot replicate, and often cannot handle. People may call you strange, intimidating, or even not human. But what they are really admitting is that your presence exposes the limits of their own understanding. You are a living testimony that God has written eternity into the hearts of his people. Eclesiastes 3:11 says, He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart. That eternity is alive in you. And that is why your gifts disrupt illusions, awaken the sleeping, and terrify those who cling to mediocrity. Do not run from this calling. Do not shrink your light to fit the comfort of others. Rise into it. Because what God has placed in you is not just for you, it is for generations to come. If this message has spoken to your soul today, I invite you to take action like this video. Share it so others may be awakened. Comment your thoughts below. And subscribe to stay connected with every new word God places in my spirit for His chosen ones. And to those who have supported me through super thanks. I want you to know how deeply grateful I am. But even if all you give is your time and attention, I thank you, because your presence here is part of this divine journey. As you go forward, I release a blessing over your life that your gifts will not be silenced, that your strength will not fail, and that your light will shine so brightly that no darkness can stand against it. May the Lord keep you, prosper you, and give you peace. Chosen ones, you are not just surviving, you are shaking the world.